Hello and welcome back to the My Generation podcast. And on today's episode, we've got a podcast special. We'll be talking to over 20 people in a chain-like format where we'll be asking questions. I'll post a question to the first guest. They'll answer that question in about 1 minute. And then they'll pose a question for the next guest, and it will be answered by someone completely different. Really looking forward to see how this goes. Now I'll throw you over to the first question that I asked for our first guest. What are your plans for the rest of the day?
All right. For the rest of the day, I will be continuing with the writer's circle that we've got going at the moment. After that, I'm going to go downstairs and do a bit of editing on my editing project, which I'll probably spend, maybe 2 or 3 hours doing. And then after that, I will go home and get on with other editing stuff and other projects that I'm working on. I'd like to know from the next guest what was the most memorable meal they've ever had.
Memorable meal. Don't know, it's a bit dark again. So 2 Christmases ago, I was quite ill around Christmas, on Christmas Day. Just flu, really bad flu. And I'd gone home to visit my mum, and my brother and his girlfriend and their 2 children, who were babies at the time, were around. And I was so ill that the mother, my brother's girlfriend, asked if I could leave on Christmas Day, so I put my Christmas meal, like the roast and everything, in a Tupperware box, and I went home and watched it. I sat on the floor in my living room and watched the first It chapter all on my own on Christmas Day.
Oh my god. And
it's memorable, yeah.
Yeah, oh my god. And so what's the next question you would like to pose for our next guest?
What do you think happens when we die?
Or reincarnated.
In what sense?
In the sense that however you've lived your life, you get rewarded, or the bad end of the stick when you come again.
And is this something you've always believed in?
No, it's not. No, I was a Catholic, but personally, I'm not religious anymore. I went through a stage of atheism, and then I don't call it, but then it changed to believing in like Buddhist practices about 3 years ago. And yeah, 'cause I think it's pretty pessimistic to say that you don't believe in anything, which is why I went from atheism to Buddhist practices.
Okay, thank you. So what's the question you would like to ask to the next person?
If they could direct a film alongside someone, who would it be?
Oh, that's a really good question. See, there's a few floating around for me. I'm thinking Adam McKay, even though I'm not the hugest fan of his actual films. His actual style of directing I just find so fascinating.
And what's it about his style of directing?
It's almost like the old Russian kind of style of like Eisenstein and stuff.
What movies has he made?
He did The Big Short and Vice were his 2 most recent films. He also did Anchorman and comedies and stuff back in the day.
Nice. And what's the question you'd like to pose for the next guest?
For the next guest? If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility, because you could do anything you wanted to and yet no one would know about it.
So what kind of things would you do invisible?
Well, I would go to uni and I would just mess around with people. I'd throw books everywhere and just mess around with people.
But what question would you like to ask the next person?
What's the best place to go on holiday?
The best holiday destination will probably be Centre Parks, because I went there throughout the whole of my childhood and I don't think anything can beat it. It's where I learnt how to ride my bike, and it's just got lots of memories and I don't think it would ever get old. So that's my favourite place. And my question to somebody is, what's your favourite book?
Oh my gosh.
I haven't read many books. Although I did read a book recently that I really, really enjoyed. It was called The Gallows Pole. And it was about living in Yorkshire in the 1870s, and it was about Britain's largest ever coin fraudery. It was amazing. I think it was just like so poetically written, and also I kind of really like delving into bits of history, pockets of history, and this explored that kind of time in history where industrialization was really starting to progress up into the north, and seeing that transition period was fascinating. So yeah, that's my book.
Nice, amazing. And what question would you like to ask the next person?
Can I ask any question?
Any question.
Oh my god. If you could spend 1 minute in any time in history, where would you spend it?
Big points in history. There's loads of things I'd have liked to have seen. Mount Vesuvius erupt, or Pompeii. It's moments in history. Okay. I would have liked to have witnessed the first transatlantic telephone call, because it was the first indication that people would be able to communicate on a global scale in real time.
Cool. And what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
The next person, well, Elon Musk seems to think that he will be arriving on the planet Mars reasonably soon. I think he thinks within his lifetime. So if you were on that spaceship with Elon Musk, how do you think your life on Mars might pan out?
Well, firstly, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I hate flying and I never, ever, ever go up into space. Love Elon Musk, think he's brilliant, but you'd never, ever, ever get me on a rocket. So sorry to disappoint you with that one.
But if you woke up and you were being transported to Mars, what would you be feeling if you were?
Oh, well, I'd probably be petrified. I'd probably say, put me back to sleep. No, I mean, it would be exciting. And I think if I got there, I mean, it would be incredible, wouldn't it? But I think the first thing I'd think was get me back to Earth.
And what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
What is the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you?
Oh my god. There was a time in college where you had to do everything that someone tells you to do. So we're learning how to be a personal trainer. And so I took that literally. So the person telling me what to do goes, step on the treadmill. Just put a foot on the treadmill. And so that's exactly what I did. It was already spinning, it was already running. So I face plant and fly off the back into some bikes. Everyone laughs, and then I get the nickname Treadmill for a year. It's great fun.
Amazing. And so what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
What is the single most creative thing you have ever done?
The single most creative thing I have ever done was the creation of a short film project I did at university for one of my film production modules.
And what was the project?
It was a short film. Oh God, what was it? It was called Unsolved. It was basically about kind of a Matrix kind of style, like being stuck in a virtual world. The only way to escape it was to solve a Rubik's Cube. However, the candidate, the character playing the candidate, was unable to solve it.
And what is the question you'd like to ask the next person?
If you were a colour, what colour would you be and why?
I'd be blue. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I'd be blue to represent my club, and I just think what a colour to be. It worked for the Smurfs, so it'll work for me.
Yeah. And what question would you like to ask the next person?
My question would be, if you were to win the lottery, let's say £1 million, £1,000,000. If you were to win £1 million, what would be the first thing that you would buy? And I'm talking the very first thing that you would buy after finding out that you've got those winning numbers.
With a crate of champagne. I've often, because I sometimes buy lottery tickets, regularly. Who doesn't? And I think what you're buying is that dream that may never come to reality, but it allows you, until you've actually checked your ticket and found that you haven't won, you've got that dream, and you can actually, imagine where that £1 million or that 10 million or whatever is going to take you. So I've spent it all, but I've also realised the way I would reveal it is by turning up on selected friends' family on their doorsteps with a bottle of champagne, insisting that we sit down and have a drink, and then I will, over that course of that champagne, explain to them what's happened and why they feature as part of my lavish plans to spend my extended fortune.
And you've got this all planned out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
Okay, but my question, it's an age-old question, but I think it's an interesting one, and it tells us a lot about the person. And that is your 3 ideal dinner guests, living or dead. Who would be the 3 people you would love to spend an evening over a meal chatting to? They can be alive, they can be dead, whoever. Your fantasy dinner guests, 3 of them.
I would bring my mum. She's an excellent cook. As much as she likes to disagree, she was wonderful. I would also bring probably Charles Darwin. He could tell an interesting story or two over a little bit of brunch. And I would bring myself.
You're already going.
Damn it. Einstein. Yeah.
Why?
Why not? I want to get hair tips from him.
Perfect. So, Harry, what's the question that you would like to ask the next person?
What's your favourite 3 animals in order?
Oh, such a beautiful question. Thank you, the person who asked me that. My first one would be a sloth, because I literally have so many things in common. We lay down all the time. We can have like together little cuddling times. The second one would be, I might go a bit extreme, but an elephant. Why not? They're cute. I think they're the cutest, and they cry. They tend to cry all the time as well, so I might give them like a little patting. And a third one, let me go something simple. A cat, because I used to have a cat and I miss him, so like that.
Lovely, thank you. And that's it. So what's the question you would like to ask the next person?
I would like to ask to the next person, if you create a meal of your own, what would it contain and what would you call it?
What's that? So like a brand new food?
Yeah.
Like a new food that's never been invented?
Never been invented. The ingredients and the name.
If I had to create an entirely new meal, what sort of question is that? I would. I think it'd have to be some sort of cheese-based food. It'd have to smell, and it has to be dunkable. You have to go with dunkable. Dunkable cheese is always the best. So a real nice sort of well-aged gooey, and it'd be called I don't know. It'd be called the stinking green, is what it'd be called, and it'd be best served with garlic bread and garlic bread and lots of stuff to dunk in it. I think is the route that we'd go down.
And what a great way to end the first half of this podcast episode. I hope you've all been enjoying so far. Do let me know what your favourite question's been in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Going to have more in the second half, but for now we're just going to go to a song by a local Kent artist, Anna Eugenia, and after that I'm going to throw my next question to the next person and kick off the second half.
I wish I could go back to when we first met. I can't let go of you. I've been waiting for so long just to see your face once more, but you're gone now, and I don't know for how long. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. I'll tell you the truth. Yeah. I've been thinking about you. Oh, do you still remember the time we spent together when we joked around and you showed me how you see the world? And now I know that it's you that I need you. Hey, hey. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. And I'll tell you the truth, yeah. I've been thinking about you. Oh, hey, hey, oh, no. Well, I understand that you have your plans. No need to stay. I'll find my way. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. I'll tell you the truth. I've been thinking about you.
So I'm with Sammy at the start of the second half, and Sammy, your question is, what is the most memorable holiday you've had, and what happened?
The most memorable holiday I had was last summer. I went to Budapest with my mates, and I met someone who apparently I knew when I was 14 because we went to the same drama club. My friend came up and told me this, and I was so confused. I went back to them about 10 times trying to find out who they were, and to this day I still have no idea who they were, but they knew a shocking amount about me, and it was a bit scary. They were able to tell me all the roles I was in the drama performances we were in together.
Sammy, what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
The question I would like to ask is, what is the strangest thing that you love?
I would say Marmite.
Marmite.
I think people think it's strange, but I like Marmite. I suppose some people don't like it. Yeah, so it's the strangest thing I love.
What's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
What's your favourite video game?
Probably Grand Theft Auto 3, I think, probably has the most memories. Just as I grew up, it was just it was quite innovative for its time. One of the first majorly popular 3D games, and one of those open world games that it kind of blew my mind when I was a kid. And
And that's it. Lovely. And so, what's the question you'd like to ask the next guest?
Favourite music album ever?
Ooh, okay. I've actually asked for this one for Christmas on vinyl because I don't have it yet. Paolo Nutini's Sunny Side Up. It was the follow-up to his debut album, which was incredible, whose name I've entirely forgot. It's got Jenny Don't Hasty, New Shoes, etc. You know the one. But it was kind of my real first intro to the world of just eclectic sound. Like, every single track on there has a very different sound, but it's all upbeat. I mean, Pencil for Lead is an absolute tune, so much so that I actually performed it for my Leavers Assembly in year 11. I put on my little Paolo hat. I got together a full band, brass section, drums, the lot. and performed that. There is a video somewhere. Try and find that. And yeah, it was just one of those albums that I went, every single one of these tracks is so incredible in its own right and could sit as a standalone track.
Nice.
So yeah, Paolo Nutini, Sunny Side Up.
Lovely. And what's the question you'd like to ask the next guest?
Oh, do I be mean and go in something like really personal? Okay, this is a question that I always ask on the Kent Sessions to musical artists, because I want to find out what their kind of hopes and dreams are, but also how they see themselves. So depending on whoever this next person, hello by the way, is and what they do, I want to know what to them do they define as success. So what would they have had to achieve within themselves, whether it be work or in life, to say that it was a success? Because I think success is such a personal thing. There is no set, like, you have to have done this to be successful. So, quite simply, what for you is success and what would be success?
Wow, I like this question. I define success as... I define success as something you achieved and in your life, something that you wanted and makes you happy. That would be like short answer. So yeah, something that you achieved that makes you happy and you aspire to do. I think success can be something that might seem like a little thing to do, like just be a good friend or make someone laugh. That's success. Or it can be something like setting up big goals in your life and achieving them. I don't know, to get on certain position in the work environment and achieving that. So yeah, depending what you set for the success. But personally, I do think that success can be something you feel like, happiness with someone, friendships, very nice relationship you have, or something that you wanted to achieve, like some goals you had for the career, for example.
Lovely. And so what's the question you would like to ask the next guest?
I would like to ask, what is the country you want to visit next and why?
Ireland, because it looks absolutely beautiful and I've never been and I've always wanted to.
And what would you plan to do if you were in Ireland?
Do all the touristy things, explore the coastline a little bit, go to the most popular attractions, what brings in the most people, and try and find the most beautiful, picturesque places I can.
Lovely. And what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
If it was going to take you 2 weeks to travel somewhere, would you rather do it by car or by boat?
Car, obviously, because as long as I can drive, because I wouldn't be able to do that not driving, because I'm very much a driving person. Because I love my car, and I'd drive my car. My car's called Roger. Roger's awesome. So I'd rather drive.
And what is Roger?
Roger is a Vauxhall Corsa.
And have you been on road trips before?
Yes, I have. I think the longest road trip was about 4 hours, and he didn't break down, which was great. That's his Star Wars side to him, Ewok. He's Roger Ewok. Yes, I know, very silly, but black Vauxhall Corsa. He's a lovely car. He's old, but he's great.
And what's the question you'd like to ask the next person?
Oh, what's the question I'd like to ask the next person? If you were to go anywhere in the world and you only had a rucksack to last yourself a month, where would it be?
I would definitely go to probably Spain, because I can speak a bit of Spanish and I feel like I could see more of Spain in that period of time. Plus Spanish tapas, man, it's great stuff. So I could probably busk my way around if I only had a backpack. That's probably where I would go.
And what would you be putting in the backpack?
What would I put in a backpack? Probably a map and some wine. And can I put people in there? Or what about my dog? He's fairly small. So probably the dog. could come. Snacks, loads of snacks, like sweets probably. He's got such a sweet tooth. Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay, and what's the question you'd like to ask the next guest?
I would like to ask if you could be anybody else on the planet for a day, who would you be and why?
Oh my word, that is kind of ultimate power, but you don't want it for too long because you may grow to miss it. I suppose the obvious would be like a movie star, a pop star, or maybe a powerful politician so you can make change. I guess an interesting one would be to be Michael Eavis for the day, the man who runs Glastonbury, and that way you can pick your ultimate fantasy festival lineup. And generally people will do Glastonbury and perform at much lower rates than they would for any other festival because they get the big media coverage and it's a national event. So what power you could wield. You could bring back all of your favourite artists, people who don't necessarily get the recognition anymore, put them in the legends slot, and off they would go, and they'd suddenly have a career resurrection. You'd be the most in-demand person in the music world, on the planet, probably for a day. And it would be quite nice telling Kanye West, no, not this time. You played before. Let's move on. Let's have Stormzy do it again. I think that would be an interesting person to be for the day. And also you get that great beard as well, just for the day. I can't quite get the gaps in my stubble.
Lovely. And so what's the question you'd like to ask our next guest?
Next guest. If you weren't here at this point in time, where would you like to be? And I'm not talking geographically, I'm talking historically.
Okay, so a lot of people will say something really meaningful. I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to 2008 Christmas, to the point just before I watched the last Gavin and Stacey Christmas special, and then I could enjoy it for the first time over again. That's a good one, isn't it? It's not going to change the world, Max, but I mean, fine.
And what's the question you'd like to ask the next guest?
Oh no. Okay. Okay. Would you rather fight 10 dog-sized sharks or one shark-sized dog? Oh God.
I would rather fight one dog-sized shark.
And the reason for that?
I think I would be overpowered by 10. I think one, I could sustain my attention on it.
And what's the question you'd like to ask our next guest?
Okay, there's a knock at the door. You answer it, and there's two genies standing there. The first genie will only give you one wish, which is you can ask him any question and he'll answer it as fully and as truthfully as he can. The other genie, though, you can ask him 3 wishes, but he can only answer yes or no. Which genie do you speak to?
Okay, well, firstly, it doesn't sound like wishes, it sounds like questions. I mean, there's nothing that I really want to know that much. I probably wouldn't bother asking either of them any questions. Yeah, I'd just go, hi Mr. Genie, and then close the door.
And what's the question you'd like to ask the next guest?
I would like to ask them if they could be any animal, what would they be?
I would be a horse. I like horses, and I like to be outside, so I like the fact that I'd be able to run free in the countryside and gallop around.
Nice. Have you had horses before?
I have, yes.
And thank you all so much for listening to today's episode of the My Generation podcast. It's been really, really fun to put this one together, hearing so many different voices within this episode of the show. It's just been an absolute joy bringing out so many unique different stories from so many different people, and a variety of questions really as well. Maybe let me know in the comments below if you resonate with any of the little small stories that anyone has brought to us today. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to do more episodes of this style. So if you've got an idea, go to the Facebook page at the My Generation Podcast to bring forward some new suggestions for these sort of chain answer episodes. I might try and bring one out in summer as well, because I've been making this episode since about October, November time, and so it's been really fun to sort of see this episode evolve over a period of a few months, because I'm literally finishing it up right before its release. So it's just been such a great journey, and thank you to everyone who featured on this episode of the My Generation Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And now I just wanted to tease a few more topics that we've got coming up in sort of the next few weeks of the podcast. Next week on the show, we're going to be speaking to local Kent musicians Renegade from Whitstable. They are a local band who will be talking about one of their new songs that they've brought out. Also, I'm going to be talking about the filmmaking process, just in a short little podcast episode just with me. And we're having Harry Monday. He is coming back on the podcast to talk about swimming. He was our returning guest from the second episode of the podcast where we talked about collecting and materialism. He is back talking about swimming, something a little bit different, but looks like a really fun episode to bring to you. And Lewis Schofield, he is returning it's his first time on the show, but we're going to a returning topic, which is the novel writing process. We talked about it with George Shaft on the 20th episode of the podcast, and we'd love to revisit that again. So that's just a little teaser of some of the stuff we have coming up in the next month of the My Generation Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Great fun to make. Please leave a like if this is the type of content you'd like to see more of on the show, and I'll aim to bring more of it throughout the year if this is the style of episode you really enjoy. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll tune in with you next week for the next episode of the My Generation Podcast.
I wish I could go back to when we first met. I can't let go of you. I've been waiting for so long just to see your face once more, but you're gone now, and I don't know for how long. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. I'll tell you the truth. Yeah. I've been thinking about you. Oh, do you still remember the time we spent together when we joked around and you showed me how you see the world? And now I know that it's you, that I need you. Hey, hey. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. And I'll tell you the truth, yeah. I've been thinking about you. Hey, hey. Oh, no. Well, I understand that you have your plans. No need to stay. I'll find my way. Oh, I need you now. I miss you, boy. I'll tell you the truth. I've been thinking